started. And I have a few more folks coming through the waiting room. So I'm going to say, Jen, I'm happy to display all your slides if you want to tell me when you're ready to move on.
Okay, we can begin.
All right, so can everybody see the emergency housing vouchers EHV slide?
Okay. So hi everybody. My name is Jennifer Burns. I'm the Section 8 coordinator for special programs with the York Housing Authority. I appreciate you guys all taking the time to come out today and learn a little bit more about the emergency housing voucher and learn how to complete it effectively. If you could go to the next slide, Kelly. And the next one. Okay, so basically the emergency housing voucher, we call it EHV for short. It's basically funded through the American Rescue Plan Act. These vouchers are somewhat similar to the HCV program, the regular vouchers, but they're dedicated more to the homeless, the at risk of homeless, and domestic violence. These vouchers come with additional benefits as well than the regular HCV vouchers. These come with more additional options, such as like we give assistance with the security deposit. We can also do application fees. So these are a little bit more beneficial in some ways than the regular HCV vouchers. So if you want to go to the next slide, Kelly. So the way that you would go about getting these referrals.
Oh, sorry, that was my fault. There's a little bit of a lag.
That's okay. We're at the next slide.
I just clicked it, but now I'm afraid to click it again. Let's see here.
Okay.
There.
Okay. So the way that you would go about getting these referrals is you would be able to I'm sorry, I had a lapse there. The way that you would get these referrals is that you would get the referrals, you would be able to get them completed by basically any professional. So you could get it through the Next Door program, through MHIDD, basically anybody that's able to certify the housing status of an individual, whether they would be homeless, at risk of homelessness. And you'd be able to get the application you can see at the bottom of this slide by contacting them to get the application. The application would then be sent to the Homeless Coalition. Okay. And then after that, they would basically refer to us, the York Housing Authority would get that application. But it takes more detail you can see in the slide there. So if you want to go to the next one. And the criteria for these vouchers are you'd have to be at risk of homelessness, homeless, recently homeless or at risk of it. Also, you could possibly be for domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and each one of these have different income categories. All of them are 50% of the AMI, except for at risk of homelessness, which is the 30%. And the AMI is the area median income. So that's how you would be eligible for that. Maybe you go to the next one. We do have a waiting list that is shared between the YHA and the Homeless Coalition. And after they verify that you meet the homeless criteria, we at YHA share a list that the county puts it on, and we pull 20 to 25 individuals normally from the list. And that's how we begin the process of the applications. And as you can see, this shows you step by step the referral application, how it works. So basically the referral packet would be completed by a professional. It's then sent to the Homeless Coalition, who basically states they're the ones who decide whether, yes, you're eligible for it, being at risk or homeless or each category that we discussed before. The referral is then confirmed. It's then sent, we take it for at the YHA, the York Housing Authority. And then after that, we begin the voucher process, the application part.
I just wanted to jump in, Jen. I feel like this is where we get a lot of confusion. People are like, well, I filled out the application, and in reality, you filled out a referral packet. There are only 56 of these vouchers, so they don't move as quickly as some of the other things that maybe are being processed through the housing authority. And so a lot of times you're completing a referral packet that you're connecting with the Coalition on Homelessness about. That is the first step, but there is still a full housing authority packet, which is what we're going to go through today to help you understand how to fill that out, that comes next. So there's like a double referral kind of situation happening. You refer someone to the program, then the housing authority has to be able to step in and have the application completed and make sure that everything is in place for them to issue a voucher. Okay, sorry.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so in regards to denials for the HVV program, this one's a lot more lenient than it is than the regular HVV program. The denials for that is basically, we can deny you on drug related, which becomes the methamphetamines, if you're a lifetime sex offender, and income limits. It's very, like I said, it's very lenient. We don't have as much restriction as we do for the HCV program. So, I mean, our main gear is to house these individuals. So the population is in greater need, so we're trying to house them as soon as possible. So this is the first letter that you will receive. This is what we get is the referral. This is what we first start with in regards to the application process. When we get this, we immediately call the client and we state to them, okay, do you want this application mailed to you? Yep. Do you want this application mailed to you, or do you want to pick it up? This sometimes, I'll be honest with you, is challenging because with this population, a lot of these individuals don't always have phone numbers. They don't always have addresses. So this is sometimes where we rely on the caseworkers to know if we can locate the individual and things like that. And you'll see where the highlighted area is. This will be at the top where we contacted the client today and when the application and all that is due. And it states right on there. And this is a big one that I want to reach out and say, if your client is having an issue with handing something in or finding their verification, let them know, hand in everything that they do have, and then communicate with us what they don't. It's better to hand in something than hand in nothing, because this is what happens, that we wind up withdrawing the consumer because we don't know, there's no contact. So say all they can hand in is the packet, hand in the packet, and then let us know, you know, we're waiting for the Social Security letter, we're waiting for the bank statement, and then that's okay, we can help and work with that. But if you just don't contact us or you just don't hand in anything, that's why we withdraw, because we have no idea. And that becomes unnecessary withdrawal when we could have worked with the client or helped them. We would prefer not to withdraw anyone in this program. So that's a big thing. So, and also, like I said, if you guys could help us with, you know, contacting them, you know, phone numbers, mail, stuff like that, that would be great. So that's something that we could really work with.
I think that's a really important point. So I'm going to like stress it again. This voucher is very different than a traditional housing authority voucher in that the population does have additional challenges in a lot of cases. And the reason we require that referral packet to have a professional support sign off on it isn't just to third party verify their housing status. It's the intention that there is someone who can help them navigate this process. Jen does quite a bit of help for the folks coming through this process, but the reality is the housing authority does not have what you might think of as traditional case managers. So when you're helping a population that might have more challenges get through this process, it's really vital that other professional supports in the community that are helping them with other items that they have going on are kind of helping them through this as well.
Yes. So this is the first page of the packet, and it basically states on the front of it, you'll see information that is needed, and you'll see there's a list right there of all the information that comes with the packet. These are the forms that we need, and all of these forms have to be returned before any voucher can be issued. So I know a lot of people get upset because they'll say, oh, I handed everything in. But if you're missing just one of these papers, we can't continue. So we have to have all of these forms and all of the verification before we can continue. So this would be a good slide if you're helping them to be able to check off like, okay, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this, because without those, like I said, we can't continue. So this is some of the information that you must provide to us to be able to continue. So we need all household income, and that's every bit of income that you receive. I know a lot of people say, oh, but you know, what does my child support have to do with it? Or, you know, that's for my kid. That's counted as income. We need every bit of income. And the best bet is relinquish all your income to us and we'll let you know that, oh, you don't have to worry about that. It's not counted. We also need all kinds of bank statements. We need all social security cards for the household, birth certificates. If you have childcare expenses, if you're a full-time student or disabled, we need verification of all that. You can't just tell us, oh, I'm disabled. We need verification of those things. Unfortunately, we have policies and procedures that we have to follow. We're not trying to be difficult. It's just that we need this verification. So. And this is the first page of the application. Basically the general household information, name, birth date, are you disabled, things of that nature. Everything has to be answered. So please, if you're assisting your consumer, have them say yes, no. If it doesn't pertain to them, have them put NA. That way we know it wasn't something that was missed, it's something that doesn't pertain to them. This is more household information. And below that is income information. Again, when in doubt, put it on there. If we don't need it, then we'll just disregard it. But always have them put yes or no, NA if it doesn't, you know, matter to them or it doesn't, you know, it's not in regards to them. When they hand in income information, everything has to be dated recent. We cannot take anything, bank statements, income, nothing we can take. It has to be dated within 45 days. If it goes past that, we can't take that. And I know that's a big gripe about from our consumers. They're like, oh, I just handed it in. But if it's August 2022 and you're handing me income from February 2021, I can't use that. Everything has to be dated within 45 days because we have to know everything that's recent. And this is more income information. Again, the same thing. If you think it's a gift, if you think it's not, you know, considered income, again, always put any type of income. Let us be the ones to decide what counts and what doesn't count. Because if we find something later, all it's going to do is hold up the individual's application. Then we're going to have to wait for verification. Also, we always need information that is dated from the individual, the organization. So with their letterhead, their information, their phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. If we go through the chains and we can't get that information, then we can possibly go and let you self-certify, possibly send you to a notary and get it done that way. But we always have to go through the steps first. Okay, so this is asset information on the application and any expenses that are paid. Again, the same thing. I know I'm repeating myself consistently, but it's always the same thing. Every question has to be answered. Yes, no, because again, it leaves us thinking, did they forget that question? Do they have that? And then we have to search more. And again, it just prolongs everything. And then the consumer gets upset with us thinking, you know, we're not following through or we're taking too long. So every bit of assets, every bit of income, all of that needs to be listed, has to be shown. In regards to childcare expenses, if an individual has a child that is 13 or under, they can put in for child expenses to try and get a deduction. If there is an individual that is at the home that can watch the child, then obviously they can't put in for that. But they would have to have a job or they would have to be going to some kind of training or school. But again, they'd have to verify all of that. So when in doubt, just please provide all verification for everything. In regards to bank statements, we need 2 months and they have to be recent. If we see on the bank statements a lot of like deposits, big deposits, we're going to question you about that. We're going to say, well, you said you had no income, but I see all these deposits consistently of this and this, you know, 200, 300, 400. We're going to ask you about that. So that's something as well. Oh, okay. So this is a big form that gets handed in incorrectly quite often. This is a citizen declaration form, and I really want to stress this one. We did put on the PowerPoint step-by-step how to complete it correctly because this does get completed incorrectly quite often. So on the family member's name part, every individual that is in the household has to have their name listed, adults and children. And then in the status part where it says 1, 2, or 3, you have to check which one pertains to you, whether you're a citizen, whether you're a permanent resident, and then the signature part for the adult. Everyone has to have a signature next to their name. If it's a child, then the adult will sign for them. Then below that also has to be the head of household has to sign and a date. A lot of times we get just the head of household will put their name down, we'll check their status and sign their name. Well, we can't accept that. So then we have to send the form back, have the person put all the kids' names down and sign for every single one. So everyone in the household has to be listed and a signature has to be next to every single name in the household. And then below has to be the household's signature as well.
And this is on the citizen declaration.
Declaration. And I will tell you, this happens very, very often where we're sending it back. This page gets done incorrectly quite often. So this one is the medical expense form. Now this one, I know I tell you every time you have to yes or no, yes or no, yes or no for everyone. But for this one, if the head of household or the co-head, if they are not disabled or 62 years old or older, you can just skip this page. It's irrelevant.
Jen, when they skip this page, do you want them to put a nice big NA on those lines in number 5 so we know they purposely skip?
Yes, that would be beautiful. Yep, that would be wonderful.
I'm sorry, we're skipping if what?
The elderly disabled page, if it doesn't concern to your consumer. So if they're, if they're not disabled, they're 62, yep, you would skip this one. But you, like Kelly said, it would be wonderful if you could put an X or NA or, yep, that would be great. Okay, so this is the voucher. This is what you guys will receive. This is what the consumer will receive when we are officially issuing the voucher to them. So all verification is in, all paperwork's in, everything is completed, and now you finally receive your voucher. But prior to that, we need this submitted to us with their signature. But the only part you need to sign is box number 6. So when you hand in everything, that box number 6 needs to be signed. Because when we complete it at the end, before we give it to you, we have to put what program you're in, when your voucher was issued, and how many days you're issued, which is 120 days is what you get when you begin looking for housing. But the only thing we need on this is box number 6 signed, nothing else. And this is your actual voucher. Okay, So this right here is an authorization release form. And this has to be signed by all adult members in the house. So even if it's your son and he just turned 18 years old, he too has to sign this form. Because if he doesn't, we're sending it back to you. So all adult, if you're 18 years or older in that household, you must sign this form. Okay, this is a release of information. This is to allow us to speak to individuals on your behalf if we need to in regards to any kind of verification or anything that we need to do. And this is another one. We get a lot of issues where they're like, oh, but it's my son, you know, but if he's 18, unfortunately, he's an adult, so he needs to sign the paperwork. This is another same thing, authorization for release of information. This allows us to talk to, say we have to talk to welfare, say we have to talk to child care consultants, say we have to talk to your employer. This is the same thing. This allows us that permission to do that. Again, same thing. If you have a child in the household and they just turned 18, they too have to sign this form. So anyone 18 and older have to sign this form. This is a statement of family obligations. This is the same exact thing. Any individual in the household that is 18 or older also has to sign this form. This allows us, this basically is just saying that you're going to follow any of the obligations for the program. So you're basically saying, to the best of your knowledge, everything you're saying is true and accurate, and that you're going to follow the plans and the procedures of the program. Yeah, there's a couple of, I've seen that. There's a couple of people, there's a couple of lines on there that has for adults. That's why we have it multiple highlighted. So yes, yep.
Yeah, Adrian, I would say that if you have more than that number of people in the household, just make yourself some extra lines.
Yeah.
However many you need.
Yeah. And when in doubt, you can always email one of us and we would be more than happy to email you another form or fax you another form, whatever is more convenient for you guys.
And just while we're paused, there was another question in the chat, Jen. I don't know if we want to take it real quick. Pam asked, does the caseworker or referral source get notified when the letter is sent to the consumer from the housing authority?
Normally, no. Normally, we don't reach out to them unless we can't track down the consumer.
Now, what I will say is that when the coalition sends a referral over to the housing authority, Jamie, who was sitting behind me, she just ran off for a minute, but she will typically notify the referral source that we're sending that client's referral to the housing authority as a way to prompt you to ask your client if they've heard from the housing authority. And Jen, I think you have been making phone calls too, wherever a phone number is possible for a person to tell them about their application.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we struggle a lot of times to get a hold of the client. So we normally have to reach out to the caseworker to try and help them connect with us. So a lot of times we are involved with the caseworker because of that reason. If we are able to get a hold of the consumer right away, we normally don't make an additional call.
And one more while we were talking, what if someone in the household is not available for signature? Maybe they're out of state, maybe they're currently in jail.
Well, then they shouldn't be on the application. If
So that would be someone, so that would be someone that you would add to your household through a different form when they're ready to be a part of your, physically be a part of your household.
Your household. What we do is we could do something called interims. And then that's when later on you want to either change income, add a household member, remove a household member, and that's when you're already in the household. Yes.
So in those situations, probably a good idea to touch base with Jen.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to touch base here because if you're adding somebody to the household, they're going to follow at a later date. They're now going to follow the regular HCV adding household member criteria. So they won't follow the housing first criteria in which the EHB is issued the voucher one. They're going to follow, we're going to have to pull criminal and all that stuff.
It's going to be more stricter guidelines. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
So if you have questions about those guidelines, it's probably good. If you have a household in this situation, it's probably good to talk to Jen or Bree and make sure that you know that person can be added to the household later. If that person is ineligible to be added to the household later, that might impact your household client, them wanting to move forward with this. So it's important to have those conversations early on.
To follow up on that, I did ask, what if like what Emily asked, say the person is, you have 2 weeks to turn it in, right? Say your kid, say that person is like out of town on work or something for 2 weeks, but they live there, they're just not there right now. You would still follow that same process? You would just add them later because they're not there to sign for themselves? Or
No, most likely in that situation, we would try and do like DocuSign. We would figure out through email. I probably, to be honest with you, would verify that it's only a 2-week situation because I would want to make sure they're coming back. But no, we would work with them. I mean, we try to help in any way we can. I would do it through DocuSign. I would email. I would do anything I could to try and work with the consumer.
Okay, I'm gonna let us keep going, but we'll have time for questions at the end too.
So this form is the notice of portability. This is just basically telling you what the rules and rights are in regards to for portability. Portability is if you wanted to transfer your voucher to another county or another state. So that's basically what that is. It's just having you sign off to say, okay, you're aware of what your rights are in regards to porting. And this is another form that all adult members in the household also need to sign. This is basically just debts owed to public housing agencies and terminations. It's basically saying that, you don't owe any money to the housing authority. If you do, you set up some kind of payment plan or something to that nature, and what your rights are and things of that nature. And this one is in regards to EIV. This basically states that, yes, we're gonna pull information on you in regards to your employment and your income to check our database, to make sure that, you're not giving us any false information. Everything you're stating is true and to the complete of your knowledge. So that's basically what that's saying. And this form is a statement of understanding. It just allows us to provide information to the landlords if they need to know anything about prior addresses or any kind of prior information about security deposits, things of that nature. So that's basically what that is, just to allow us to share information. So does anybody have any questions so far?
There is one in the chat that I don't think we answered yet. Eric asked, is there a digital or online version of the application that could be uploaded?
That I'm not, Bree, you want to chime in for that? Because I know we basically send the applications out.
There is not, for the fact that we didn't want people to be able to upload them. I mean, we can send them to the service provider so that when your client gets the referral, you have it. But we didn't want people to be able to get the packet just because they've been told that they've been sent a referral. Because right now, Kelly can chime in, there's over 100 people on the waiting list. The housing authority don't want 100 packets. That we don't know, why are we getting these packets? Because we have so many different programs that packets look similar to.
Yeah, Bree's right. I don't even have anything to add to that. She's right. Somebody asked if we'll have a copy of the PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be sent out to all of the registrants, and then it's also probably most likely going to go to the Coalition on Homelessness distribution list as well. It will be available, the recording will be available on Zoom for a period of time. We usually do about 30 days. We do allow the option for you to download that if you need it. But after that, I will typically remove it from Zoom and it will only be located on YouTube. The only reason I say all of that is because I know some providers block YouTube from your work computers. I wish there was a better answer. But in order to be able to record other meetings, I can't leave it in Zoom forever. So we usually move it over to YouTube on a private channel. We'll give you the link in that same email to all the registrants, and you will have access to it that way as well. Oh boy, now they're busy. Now they're coming in. So Elise, since it's hard to find landlords accepting vouchers, if a client's been referred and is not up on the wait list, but has a landlord that will accept the voucher, can that person be moved up on the wait list so the vouchers can be used? Whew, I know what you're asking, but so once the coalition makes referrals to the housing authority, we have to allow the housing authority time to review, to accept applications, review applications, and release those vouchers. Because there's only 56 of these, if the housing authority has all 56 vouchers on the street, or they have some leased up already, I know that, then I can't continue to just send people over, because at some point we will have too many people and not enough vouchers. So I don't know that I really have the opportunity to do that, just because of the limited number of these that are available. What I will say is that there's a chance that somebody on our list is eligible for the mainstream voucher, which is a different voucher, not to complicate all of this because it's very confusing. But mainstream vouchers are available directly through the housing authority. You complete that housing choice voucher application on the yorkhousing.org website. And you have to make sure you check that someone is, oh, remind me, Jen, they're disabled. And what's the other box say?
You have to be, for mainstream, you have to be disabled, and it's so transitioning housing, rapid rehousing, homeless. You have to fit in one of those categories.
And you have to
Homeless.
check those boxes on the application.
Yes.
So there are still
Right.
some mainstream vouchers out there. So that might be an alternative option. But as far as just automatically saying this person has a unit, can you send them over to the housing authority? There just aren't enough voucher flexibility for me to do that.
And what I do is when I'm reviewing the vouchers, I try, if someone's an EHV, but they also fit into mainstream, I will try to transfer them from EHV to mainstream to open up so that we have those EHV vouchers. So because we do have more mainstream availability than we do EHV.
And I know Jamie's kind of been doing some of that on our side, looking at that long list of people waiting for EHV and seeing if any of them are eligible for mainstream. So if she reaches out to one of you and says, you have somebody on the EHV wait list, but it looks like they're eligible for mainstream, you should complete an application on the housing authority website for that component. Because there's what, 78 total. There were 78 mainstream vouchers. So there were a few more there than there are here. Something to offer some flexibility. Can the participant use bank statements as proof of SSI, SSD payments?
No,
No.
we have to have it as, because that doesn't tell us our gross. That tells you what's going in, but that doesn't tell us, maybe you're getting a gross amount and there's Med B being deducted from that. Because first of all, that would count as an expense that we could use for you to deduct from, you know, your application as well. So no, we cannot use bank statements for that.
So it has to be a award letter.
Yes, it has, not only does it have to be an award letter, but the award letter has to have a recent date on top of it as well. What we were discussing before, it has to be within 45 days. You can't give us something from January. You can't give us the tax ones that they send you. We can't use any of that.
So Emily said, so a client should wait until they get the letter from housing authority before submitting the housing authority application. She says that she was doing the referral and the app at the same time. So first of all, you're very efficient and I congratulate you on that, Emily. But the reality is things may change in that household composition or in the income or any host of other items on that housing authority application before we're able to send that referral over. So I guess my recommendation would be to just do the referral packet at the beginning and then wait to do the housing authority application once you know that referral has gone from the coalition to the housing authority.
Plus, you're not sure where you're going to fit on the referral list.
Right.
So you could be doing the application way before you might even meet for us to pull you.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
And there was some comments about how hard it is to find a property or landlord that accepts the voucher. And we hear you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's not just vouchers. It's rental assistance too. It's just about everything.
And that's something that we're all working on and trying to fix, and it's just been a hard battle.
Adrian asked if that's 56 vouchers a year or at a time. And I feel like I am going to crush your soul when I say this, Adrian, but that's 56 vouchers total. The emergency housing voucher was part of one of the coronavirus relief packages. So there's no renewal tied to it after the year 2030. We're kind of all waiting to see if they get kind of moved into the general housing choice voucher allocation that goes to the housing authority. So this is different from the housing choice voucher in that it was funded until 2030. We're not, and I don't know where that slide went, Jen. I feel like you had a slide about they're not allowed to be reissued after September of 2023.
It's at the end.
That's
It's
coming
at
up.
the end.
Yep. That's
So there are a couple of extra ones, but so you can't reissue it after 2023, September of 2023. This was one of those one-time housing supports that came out of CV. So it's not every year, it's 56 total. If we fill and lease up all 56 by September of 2023, we're good. If we don't, then we don't get to continue to try to work on filling those empty vouchers. Did I miss anything? I just like totally jumped in with the housing authority answer.
No, you're good.
Sorry. I feel like I answered that one a lot, so I was like ready for it. Do we have landlords or property management companies we are partnering with? Tara asks. I think everybody has a few that they work with. The reality is we're a small community on the grand scale of things, and there are only so many landlords in the community. I mean, there's not like a running list of people who accept Section 8, because some landlords will accept Section 8 on a couple of units, but not all of their units. There's a lot of moving pieces when you talk about managing a landlord list.
Yeah.
The housing authority does know who they currently work with, but not really.
And it helps when the case managers actually help us out with the landlords and identifying the landlords. One of the things that we've been running across that, especially with Jen and some other ones, is they work very successfully with the landlords they know. And some of you who work within the programs and work with your clients know landlords. It helps if you can kind of pass that information around as well to your clients and to us so that we can help them out. Even as Jen and I was discussing a housing locator, that person would have to really know the market, and the best people who know the market, especially for landlords like this, would be your case managers and other community resources.
And honestly, a lot of what we find, at least in our sphere of things at the Coalition on Homelessness, is a lot of the agreement that comes from a landlord willing to take a risk on a household or accept a voucher or accept rental assistance. It comes from the relationship that a case manager or a support staff has, not only with the landlord as they're trying to have that conversation, but also with the client looking for housing. It's hard to be a housing locator in general, where you're just trying to find people that'll rent to anybody, because that is not typically how a landlord will work. They will typically look on a household by household basis, and that's where someone who has a relationship can kind of move into that space. The idea of someone who just knows all the landlords that are willing to accept rental assistance or a voucher is just not all that feasible in this current market. It just isn't.
Right. And there's a couple of questions. I don't know who ES is, but ES they actually kind of bring up a good point. And in full transparency at the Housing Authority, I agree. We've had some struggles. And and I say this very proudly, that the team that we have in place right now is probably one of the most efficient teams that we've had in a long time, as far as processing, getting the information to the right people in a timely manner. So as private landlords kind of say they refuse it, I would ask you to ask them to try us at least one more time. Because one thing what happened in the pandemic that our landlords did say and told us, they never missed the rental payment. We never backed down. We never changed our dates on payment of rents. They always went out by the 1st of the month or the 3rd of the month as per the email. So Ms. Stoner, thank you. But it's just ask them to give us another chance. I'm always available to talk to landlords. If they have any questions and want to talk to me. The other questions that you would have is that setting forth inspection process for landlords easier. That has been an ongoing conversation with our team internally here at the Housing Authority. We actually have 2 inspectors on board now. We haven't had 2 inspectors for a while. We're actually contracting a large part of this out. I brought it back in-house, I think it was last year, almost 18 months about now. And it is working a little bit more smoothly. Yes, we are working a little bit more efficiently. So if you got an initial and you got a landlord that says, I want an initial really quick, call the Housing Authority, call us and see if we can't squeeze you into the existing inspection schedule to get that initial completed in a timely manner. So we are working through the hiccups of the program and making it run a little bit more smoothly. But if there's an issue, we don't know it's an issue until we know there's an issue and we can complete it. So I encourage you to give us another chance and to help us understand what the issues are so that we can resolve them in-house. And Jennifer, you might, I think that's more of your question.
I wanted to jump back. Someone wanted to confirm they needed an award letter for Social Security. We said yes, and it cannot just actually be the letter that you get in January every year. It has to be within the last 45 days. So you may have to request another letter from Social Security.
And that's pretty easy now that they're back opened. There's also, I've been telling a lot of consumers, you can go on the portal and do it and get the letter. I've had some consumers be able to get it to me within 20 minutes. They go right on the portal. They're able to pull it right off and email it right to me. Another way, now that COVID has settled down, they can go right into the office and get it. So there are many other ways that, you know, it's a little bit easier to be able to get the letter now. I know previously it was much harder.
Someone also asked about extensions. So there are 120 days at the issuance of an EHV voucher to find housing. Is there situations where that can be extended? And they mentioned it's very challenging to find landlords. It might take a bit of time to locate a property.
We do. If we want to continue with the slide, there's some of it that I can continue to answer the questions as we go. So this was the part that I wanted to discuss. These are our RFTAs. So this is what happens after you complete the application, you complete all the verification. We then send you the voucher, and we send you some listings for different places that you can possibly look into finding apartments. But you also get this, which is the RFTA. So when you do locate a place, this is what you'll complete with the landlord and yourself, and you'll submit to us. We make sure that it's affordable for you and that you can afford it within your income. And once this gets submitted to us and you're considered, you know, eligible for the place, that you can afford it, this is what gets sent, and then we send it to the inspectors. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is where you get the 120 days. So you get 120 days on your voucher to look for a place. But with EHV, we do not like to terminate or cancel any of the vouchers. So if you come to us and you say I've been having a lot of them come to me 10 to 15 days before the end of their voucher. And they come to me and they say, hey, Ms. Burns, we're having a really tough time out there finding a place. The market's tough, which we all know that already. We are able to give you an additional 30 days to go out and continue looking. So we have been giving additional time to look for places. So it's not only just 120 days, it can continue to be 150 days to continue to look. So if that, answers the question, yes, we are giving extensions out to 150 days. And then after that, like I said, it goes then to inspections. So once that's completed, we then send it over to the inspectors, and then they have up to 2 weeks to schedule the inspection. Like Regina had stated before, though, if something needs to be done, quicker than that, you can contact us and we can talk to the inspectors to see if they're able to squeeze it in quicker to get it done. Now that we do have the 2 inspectors, we can, I have gone to the inspectors and said, hey, is there any way that you can get this done? And, they're more than happy if they can within their schedule to squeeze something in quickly. And then this talks about the portability. So if you are a York County resident, or you work within York County, once you're able to get your voucher, you are able to port to another county or another state, if they're willing to absorb your voucher. And then this talks about the sunsetting. So after September 30th, 2023, no more vouchers will be issued. But the vouchers that are currently issued, the people that are already leased up and living in their home, they will continue to get their subsidy and they will continue to be able to stay in their homes. These vouchers also aren't, project-based. They're not for a set place. They're for, wherever they are to move. And then this is contact information, so you guys are able to get a hold of Kelly or Jamie, myself, or Bree in regards to any other questions that you may have.
I'm trying to see if we caught up. We were having some conversation in the chat, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody's question. If I missed it, go ahead and take yourself off mute and ask it. I think we're okay. So Emily and I were having a conversation in the chat about supports and her feeling overwhelmed, having to do all of this and look for a unit with a particular client on her caseload. And what I said was, are there opportunities to case conference those really challenging situations where you feel like you're the only person? Are there other resources in the community that they could be tapping into? And then all of those professional resources could be working together. It's rare and unusual for it to happen. We've been doing a lot more of it at the coalition, trying to pull together all the different components that people are working with and having those professionals work together around solutions on that person. Somebody does have to be willing to step up and say, we're all going to get together and have a conversation about this household. But I've been doing some of that with other households that work with a variety of partners. So don't feel like it has to be your sole burden. If you have a household that has a lot of needs and challenges, there are probably other providers in the community that have services that could be supportive as well. And while I never recommend you just say, here, you work on it, I recommend that you get together and you work on it together. It kind of releases the burden from one person. I know that sounds in a perfect world, and I know that's not always feasible for everybody, but it's still a recommendation.
Yeah,
and this is Tiffany from MHIDD. I agree with Kelly says. We try to bring everybody to the table as often as possible because it's very challenging, especially right now. We also work with friends and neighbors, CPC. We work with the same resources, but it is easier if we can work as a team because it's overwhelming at times. And it's just a difficult, challenging time for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I am willing anytime anybody wants to reach out. And I mean, I've tried to reach out with services. I have tried to have group meetings with MHIDD as well with different consumers, and I have referred people to them for additional, mental health, because I'm still working with consumers. My main goal is housing, but there's other things that prevent the housing, or there's other things they need on top of housing. So I myself have reached out to different agencies. I've talked to Bell, I've talked to MHIDD, like, hey, can you help me? I've worked with different caseworkers over at MHIDD for us to try and house people together, my contacts, their contacts. So I think the more we work together, the better off we'll be.
I just wanted to draw attention. Eric asked how much of the rent would be subsidized by the vouchers. Bree answered it, but I just wanted to like verbally call it out so it didn't get lost. Bree said clients are still required to pay between 30 and 40% of their annual adjusted income. And looks like Pam and Emily might connect. That would be a good connection. You two would be great. Is the CA housing a resource with EHV? CA, Crispus Attucks, I assume, is what you're referring to. And I can't answer that. I know Crispus Attucks has housing. Can you put a voucher in it? I don't know why you couldn't, but I don't know.
We have regular vouchers at Crispus Attucks.
Okay. That was me clearly knowing I was out of my league on that one. I didn't know. Okay. So, any other questions? I think we made it to the end of the list and the end of the slides. Let me remove these slides and then you can see each other, maybe. There we go. So, any other questions? Jennifer asked about Crispus Attucks' units being down, but I truly don't know. I don't know if we have anybody from CA on here today. I don't think so. I'm looking.
Alfreda's on.
CA, Crispus Attucks, not next door.
Okay.
Yeah,
phone is taking long to like hang up, so.
I think Elise is right. I don't believe that Crispus Attucks receives any kind of federal HUD dollars for their housing, which means they should be eligible. From our perspective, I don't know what their rules are, but. Okay. Any other questions from you guys? Just as a reminder, because I see people hopping on and off. This was recorded. We are going to send it out. It'll be available on Zoom, like a Zoom link to review for 30 days. And then it will be available on YouTube as a private link indefinitely. So if you go to YouTube and you search for it, you're not going to find it, but I will send you a link to access it if you need it. I will send the referral packet that we talked about at the very beginning as an attachment to everyone, just so it's in the same place as the videos. If you have other questions, all of the contact information is on that last slide of the PowerPoint. You will get the PowerPoint slides. Did I miss anything that you want me to include?
No, I think that's everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If anything comes up later, don't hesitate to ask. We appreciate y'all joining us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much. It was great information.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jennifer. It was
Welcome.
very, very informative.